And a pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Today's guest menu looks like this. He is the head basketball coach at Scotlandville High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They won their third straight Division I title last week. Coach Carlos Sample will join me at about 10:30 to discuss the year, the championship, and quite simply, what else is there for him to do on the basketball court. I'll also ask him about maybe the future. You know me, I'm going to probe a little bit and see if there's an interest to move on to bigger and better things. Coach Carlos Sample, he will join me first in hour number one. Hour number two, the coach, Coach Van Pettaway, joins me. We'll talk Southwestern Athletic Conference basketball. The finals are set on both women's and the men's side. He'll join me in hour number two. And if I'm behaving, if I'm a good guy, Brother Michael Prince will join me. I got to get his commentary. We'll agree, we'll disagree, and then we'll agree to disagree sometimes. That's our relationship, but I love him to death. He is Brother Dr. Michael Prince. Here's what's trending on this week's episode of the Carlos Brown Show. The SWAC Women's Final is set. Southern University, number one seed versus what? Jackson State University? Indeed. You know, I'm fired up. I got to throw some fish on the grill. I got to get ready at 1:30 p.m. Southern and Jackson State. I know, you're shocked. Most people thought it'll be 1 versus 2, 1C versus 2. Prairie View A&M Panthers go down. Here's what else is trending. SWAC men's finals is set. The number one seed and the number 2 seed. They've been the two best teams all year, and they'll meet to decide the tournament championship on the men's side. Prairie View and the Panthers and Texas Southern. Southern University baseball dropped a 1-0 decision to TSU. TSU, Coach Robinson says, not yet, not so fast. They're still picked to win it all. Only he's coming out of the West. Southern coming in, undefeated in conference play. Hey, we lost 1-0, but outstanding pitching effort by both teams. The race is not won by the swiftest, but the one who endures. North Carolina Central on the men's side, number 3 seed, will take on Norfolk State in the MEAC finals on the men's side, and on the women's side, number 4 seed Norfolk State versus number 3 Bethune-Cookman. That's what's trending on this week's episode of the Carlos Brown Show. Don't forget, guest Coach Carlos Sample will be joining me in hour number 1. Hour number 2, Coach Van Pettaway and Michael Prince will join me in hour number 1 and perhaps in hour number 2. So let's transition now to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Interesting, to say the least. Let's start with on the women's side. Of course, the finals today, Southern University and Jackson State, 1:30 p.m. Watch ESPN. And I heard some of you, or ESPN3, talked about the technical difficulties not being able to see the majority or parts of Southern and Grambling State. But, you know, radio is still a good thing. I was able to listen locally to Southern and Grambling State. Oh boy, yeah, that's right. You can listen to the SWAC finals, both women and men's, all day on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. How can I forget that? They've been doing a great job in, hey, radio, whether it's online, local, it's still needed. It's still needed as technology continues to grow. Southern University over Grambling State, 71-69. The Jaguars were up by 10, 37-27 at the half. You're feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good. Then the third quarter, wow. Turnovers at Grambling State with their full court press. They just wreaked havoc. And then it was nip and tuck. Southern University able to take care of business. Howbeit, if you win by 20, 10, or 1, the Jaguars are in the finals on the women's side. And if we take a look at the box score, Southern University up 16-15 after one quarter. Then in the second quarter, Southern University outscored Grambling State 21-12. Grambling State, albeit it could have been worse, outscored Southern 20-14 by 6 in the third quarter. And in the fourth quarter, Grambling State outplayed Southern, outscored them 22-20. So if you look at this ball game, according to quarters, Southern wins the first half, Grambling State wins the second half, and Chicago Hill, 21 points, 11 assists, 9 rebounds. A special player. And I know it was sad for the final game, at least on the collegiate level. Some think, yours truly here, will have a shot on the next level, a hard worker. Just the ball's in her hand all the time. She does so many things. And she led the way. For Southern University, you had 3 players in double figures. Skylar O'Bear with 17 points, Lyric Scott with 13, Courtney Parsons with 12. But Tania Moore, 14 boards. And she just, to me, kind of set the tone on the boards. The Lady Jaguars out-rebounded Grambling State. That helped to offset some of the turnovers. But they were able to get it done. And this is a relatively young basketball team. They've got two just, how can I put this? Just 2 outstanding young players that's coming in out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. They won their classification, the state basketball title. The future is just bright under Coach Funches. But here's what I think personally. Sometimes you look at the talent, and they're so talented, I forget that they're still young, and they're still going to have to mature and get better. And it seems like it's a lot of pressure, like today against Jackson State. Southern's going to be favored. I think if you look at most of the prognosticators, they'll say that. But they're going to have to earn it on the court. They're going to have to do that. But just a young team, and they're going to get better. They're going to get better. And Coach Funches, congratulations to him, Coach of the Year. And what do you have today? Let me bring in Dr. Brother Michael Prince. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, my brother. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm just peachy keen.
You're peachy. I bet you are peachy keen. You're in the championship.
Now, ask me how I feel a few hours from now, up around 3:00. You know, I'll continue to be happy, or I will be a bit disappointed. But both coaches in the women's final in their first year as head coaches at the school, one will be a winner and will be a champion in the first year. Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting, and it could be a setup for a letdown. When I say that, because you get it that first year, then you think it's supposed to happen every year, even though we shoot to do that every year. And what will happen with the fan base? Well, why are we struggling? Why are we struggling? Why are we struggling? So you take it and you embrace it, and you always try to win as many as you can, but don't get a false sense of security. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I understand your point, but fans are fanatics.
Well, I know.
Unreasonable. Hell, some people have called me unreasonable, I guess. Because
you can. You're rough. You're rough, though. You're not unreasonable. You're just rough.
Well, if I could transition just a little bit, Coach Pete Richardson, the first game that he's coaching at Southern, and man, they could have won that game by 40. The bar was set right then, and I guess that's what you're kind of saying. The bar will be set.
Yes.
If Coach Funches gets the title, along with the coaching staff and, of course, the young ladies. But shouldn't expectations always be high, or should you?
Always. There's never room. That's why if you set your expectations high, that's why I don't deal with excuses. You understand? I hired you because I think you're qualified to do that job, whether it's coaching, playing tiddlywinks, or counting sheep. I hired you because I thought you were highly capable of completing. At least that's why you should be hired. And so I don't want any excuses on why the wheels collapse and fall off.
Interesting point. And speaking of another point, if I told you the team that shot the best lost, would you believe that?
Yes, because
Grambling State 45%, Southern University 41%. What are your thoughts on that ball game yesterday?
I thought it was a very well played game. It was a very physical game. I think a lot of people don't like to relate physicality when it comes to the women's play of basketball, but there was a very physical game and a strategic game played. We can't speak enough on Shaquilla Hill and her abilities to wield that team. She just needed a little bit more help on yesterday. But Southern kept things together. They had that 10-point lead, and Grambling made a run, I should say, and they kind of regrouped and got it together. And I think it's going to be a very, very good game. Grambling couldn't handle the post play of Southern on yesterday, and I think that's going to be the vantage point for Southern today at 1:30.
Well, interesting that you say that, because I didn't see every women's team in the conference, but Southern has literally always has been a team that has big post players. And you look at what they have now. If you look at that roster, I think it's 4, 5, 6 foot, 6'1" or better, and they're all young. I'm going to remember that point you just made, because the post players depend on someone getting the ball to them. And thanks a lot, JH. He has a take about today's game I'm going to get to it. And don't forget, if you want to interact with us, you can do it a few ways. The Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com. But most people like to interact on the Facebook page or Facebook Messenger, which I have open. And also, if you care to do so, you can call 936-333-5256. That's 936-333-5256. In other words, Southern looks the part. I think they're the tallest team in the conference, and consistently they are. But it'll be interesting. Jackson State, last time they played at the F.G. Clark Activity Center, Jackson State pulls off the win. So you think that's going to have a little bit of a thought process for Southern, or just throw that away? It's the championship.
Absolutely. Throw it out the window. It's championship. We do have 2 first-year coaches, but you don't count any of that right now. It's about who wants it the most. And I just, from what I've collected and gathered on these last couple of days, Southern is going to have a little bit harder bite because they're a little bit more hungrier for this. Not that Jackson State is not hungry, not that they're not worthy. If I had to pick someone other than my Panthers, I'm still, I'm a little.
I
had to have a woosah. Yeah, I had to have a woosah moment, man. But if I had to pick, I'm rolling with the Columbia blue and gold today.
Oh, I know that just warms your heart.
Yeah, man, I'm so warm and fuzzy inside. I feel like I might have not a shot, but a whole bottle of some of that good old brandy.
I understand. Well, not bad on a cold.
It's a little brisk out there.
To me, I'm cold when it gets 50 degrees now. Go figure. When I was in my 20s, nothing bothered me. JH, a listener, says, Keys, Southern women have to cut down on the unforced turnovers. Yeah, particularly in the third quarter. They really had, but then some of it was forced by, to me, Grambling State in their press. And that's something you're going to have to work on. You're going to have to look for it today. 2, they must hit their open shots. I thought they started off well. Thanks a lot, JH, for that. Then we have one from coming in right now as we speak. But I thought they did a pretty good job in the first quarter, second quarter, kind of hitting their shots. But then once again, and I don't know if JSU will have the legs after playing a double overtime. Good point last night. But then, hey, they're young. They should be able to recover. You would think.
You say that.
Physically. Well, yeah, because I'm not on the court.
Right.
Yeah. But from an emotional standpoint, I think they will be ready for the challenge. Can they physically be ready? And will Southern, and here's another key, Southern's depth. Coach Funches plays at least 11 to 12.
Oh, yeah.
Players.
Yeah.
And so I think the emotion and JSU may come out and throw the first haymaker. But will they be able to sustain? That's an interesting point. JH brings up some good points.
Now, I'll tell you something else. I'll tell you something else that Jackson State does exceptionally well. Their zone defense is exceptionally well. They gave Prairie View all sorts of troubles on yesterday. They couldn't figure it out. And then once again, it was the lack of a true post player for Prairie View to counter that zone. And I think that's where the advantage is going to be for the Jags on today, because they can counter that, man. With that zone, they want you to shoot outside, but if you got a presence down in that post, you can kind of wheel whatever you want to do against that zone defense.
Interesting. I'm making notes. I'll be watching. Well, listening for all of this. Because I'm not sure if this game's on television or if it's a replay. But we'll find out. Listener CB says, SU should press early and often. Look for JSU to sub often. Double overtime, emotional win.
Yes.
Will they have anything in the tank? Legitimate question.
You got to push them early.
Yeah. And for Southern, your advantage is in the post. Depth. It's going to be interesting.
I'm going to go out on a limb, Carlos, and say this. And like I said, I don't have a dog in this hunt because they're not wearing purple or gold. Well, one of them's wearing a little gold. At least they call it gold. I think that Southern is just going to dominate this game because of the double overtime, because of the emotion, because of the stress, not stress, but the lack of quality rest. You think about it. You got young women or young student athletes. They had an emotional win. And just like with us last night, we did 11 hours of broadcasting on yesterday. even though you're tired, you can't go to sleep right away. You got to unwind. Next thing you know, and you're thinking about the what ifs, the woulda, coulda, shouldas, and everything goes on. I think it's going to be a mental weight on Jackson State today. And don't be surprised if Southern takes this thing walking away.
Wow.
That's just me.
No. And I understand that. And I would love for that to happen. But,
I bet you would.
I've got to take that other road. And trust me, it's JSU. You know how I feel.
Yes.
It could be checkers or backdiamond. But with that being said, I'm going to taper my emotions here and look at it from a mental standpoint. That's all fine and dandy. But I look for Southern University to come out and just play hard and sustain and execution. And if they win by double digits, fine. But if it's a 1-point victory, hopefully a little bit more than that. But a win.
Hey, a win any way I can get it. And I'm going to go out on a limb, brother. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'll do that every now and then. I would be surprised if Southern does not win by double digits. I'd be disappointed if they don't.
Wow. The high road gambler. Michael Prince. Well, it's Southern, the number 1 seed, and Jackson State, the number 3 seed. Southern gets to the championship by a 2-point victory over the number 4 seed, Grambling State, 71-69. And then in a 2 and a 3 matchup, it's supposed to be pretty close. That's why they're seeded so close based on records. And Jackson State, 75-63 victory over Prairie View A&M in 2 overtimes. So that sets the scene on the women's side. Now let's make the transition over to the men's side. Southern University had a season that came to an end. It's so tough. If we back up a little bit, you have to play Texas Southern again. Come on, folks. Texas Southern was going to be waiting with a big stick. And they dropped 80-70 decision, albeit I really thought it could have been a possibility that it could get away from them. A 10-point loss, a loss is still a loss, but for this team, this program, and by the way, I did not read a comment that I had a couple of weeks ago. Can I do that?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, boy, they're coming in. I'm gonna get to you. If you want to take part in the discussion, you can hit me up on Facebook Messenger and what have you. I almost can't keep up. They're pouring in. Here we go. And this is from a couple of weeks ago. Hey, franchise. Roman Banks showed no loyalty to Coach Morris Scott. I disagree with both you and Charles. If Coach Wood's team comes back next season and plays like this season, which is awful, then Woods needs to go. MC, a listener, a couple of weeks ago. I was supposed to read that last week. So, see, people disagree with me all the time. Let's see. Do you want to comment on that?
Who me?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to just put it like this. We know it was the first year for Woods, and sometime the legend is greater than the actual person, and I think he's living off a legacy right now. And I know everybody say we got to give him time to put his team together. And I'm just gonna put it out there. I was not impressed with the job he did this year, personally. I was not impressed. I know you don't want to hear that.
No, I'm listening.
But it was he was living off of what he did in the past, and that's great. But I'm like Janet Jackson. What have you done for me lately?
Well, he comes into a situation. And I know
excuses,
but I give him a little grace period.
How much grace you going to give him? How you going to give him grace and you ready to run Odom out of town?
If I can answer that, well, Odom has been there a much longer time than Coach Woods.
Man,
and
okay.
Yes, that's a fact. Also, let's say with the talent coming in this year, next year, for next year's team, and I see marked improvement, then he has another year on his contract. At the end of it, unless the bottom falls out and he's 7-20 something again, then it's going to be the third year. You have to do this, A, B, and C, or else you may have to look at it. But I just think after one season, now, come on. We don't want to see the same thing happen that happened to Melvin Spears at Alcorn. They didn't like him. They didn't want him. And if he was basically doomed from the start. And Brother Prince, I know you can't say after 1 year. Now, you can say you weren't impressed.
Well, that's all I'm saying. With all the hype and all that, and see, here's where the problem I have. Southern Nation, I don't know which one I'm going to get. Do you get the no nonsense? We all about, what they say, SWAC stand for Southern wins another championship, and you got all this leniency with Wood. Is that because he's a local legend or a living legend according to SWAC basketball standards? But then you ready to throw Odom out? I don't care how long, how short he's been there. I mean, come on, make up your mind. What you gonna do,
Brother Prince? We're not talking about Odom right now.
Oh, I know we're not talking about, but I'm just comparing apples to apples. He's been taken care of. Yeah, okay, taken care of.
He's been taken care of, and you need to beat Alcorn. We've talked about that. And,
well, who does Wood needs to beat? Who does Wood needs to beat? Everybody.
I have the same expectation, a championship, but I know they don't have it. So let me ask this question. So, for those of you who feel that you didn't like Woods, I can understand that. You wouldn't have made that choice.
Now, see, you're making it personal. We don't have anything against Woods, the person.
No, I'm just saying for those. I didn't name anybody.
Well, you said for those who don't like Woods. We don't want it to be out there that we don't like Woods.
Okay, for those who didn't feel that he should have been the coach and he should have kept Coach Scott. Wood, Morris, Scott, and that team and what they had coming back, we know they would have probably had a better record.
Well, okay, then.
Would they have won a championship?
Well,
or would they have done much better?
I personally think they'd have done much better. I don't know about winning a championship because of the year that Texas Southern and Prairie View had collectively, but I know it would have been better than a 7-8 seed.
I didn't think they were going to make it, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, thank God for Valley. Thank God for the ineligibility of A&M.
Yeah, more so. Yeah, both of those.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is, let's see what happens within the next 2 years. See,
that's what I don't understand.
I'm accused of being impatient. Yeah. But then when I'm being patient, then you're still saying I'm wrong.
No, I didn't say you were wrong. I'm saying you're being indecisive. You go, okay, let's give him 2 years.
You can't get rid of Coach Woods after 1 year.
Why not?
Not gonna happen.
Why not? I just said, why can't we? I mean, why can't you? Personally,
you mean why
keeps doing it,
won't do it?
Yeah. Why can't you? You said we can't get rid of Coach Woods after 1 year, and my question to you is, why can't you?
Well, they won't get rid of Coach Woods after 1 year.
Okay.
I saw a team that, rightfully so, didn't have a lot of talent, had to run off some players. Unless you're going to tell me, well, it was the coach's fault, it wasn't the player's fault. Okay. And then I saw this team improve, albeit didn't have any guns on the team, except for Moutier. To me, that was a consistent. They had walk-ons. And to be able to get into the tournament, howbeit whatever way they got there, they were in there. I think they can only go there's only one way to go but up. And then they've got some nice recruits coming in. Let's just see what happens.
Okay, now you just said something a moment ago that triggered off another flag for me that is going to come back and bite you in the backside. You get players, you throw players off the team, right? What is the next thing that's affected when you start throwing players off your team? Because normally if you throw a player off your team, they normally drop out of school, right? Or transfer somewhere else, right? So what's the next problem that comes behind that? APR issues.
Well, as much problems as Southern has had.
That's what I'm saying.
You still have to have discipline on the team.
No, you have to have discipline. I understand.
Now, and if those guys are disruptive or being undisciplined, then no, they can't be on the team. Keep them on scholarship or keep them in school, and if they want to transfer, so be it.
But that's going to affect you, bottom line. That's why the bottom line is you get student athletes. And I think sometimes we get athlete students. We get it a little behind.
But Brother Prince, but those were players that were on the team from the previous years. And Coach Scott, unbelievably so, that's why I believe he didn't get the job full time. Truth be told, there were a lot of discipline problems with that team last year. And I think that happens a lot. Now, hey, a guy comes in and he examines what's going on, and if you have a discipline problem, you keep him on there.
Well,
and say, maybe it'll work out. What do you do?
Well, in the case of Texas Southern, they've had discipline problems, and they work it out. Do you really think? Do you really think? And I'm just going to pour it out there just a little bit now. Do you really think that Reed was hurt most of the year? Reed has been a discipline problem since he's been there, even with Coach Davis. He quit a couple of times with Coach Davis. Okay, but once you make these commitments, see, the thing is advantage student athlete. When these institutions make the commitment to these student athletes, you got to learn how to adjust and deal with these personalities and these prima donnas and people thinking they're bigger than the program. That's why it's essential. It's about winning. It's going to always be about winning. But you want to make sure that you get the right student athlete that fits the overall success rate of your programs.
And again, Sean Woods gets the job. They decide not to give Scott the full-time job. Is he responsible for the players that are already there? He didn't recruit them.
Well, you inherit them, and you're the great guru, the legendary coach, okay? And I guess in his case, he shaped them up, and they didn't want to shape up. He shipped them out. But the bottom line is this is not back in the 90s. You got APR to deal with right now. So you have to figure out psychological ways of dealing with today's student athlete. And if they're risky or on the bubble type athletes, leave them where they are and move on down the road. That's been one of the things that Prairie View has been a staple that, why can't we get to such and such player like these other players? Well, they're marginal bubble players, not talent-wise, but psychological and the effects that they have in the classroom and in some cases out the classroom. I would rather deal with a good kid that I know that's going to give me everything they got. They might lack in some physical talents or abilities, but I know what I'm getting on the other 2/3 of that, psychologically and educationally.
Well, with Coach Woods, that starts now. He's got 3.
There you go.
Coming in.
There you go.
No. He can't be held responsible for kids he didn't recruit. And it's always tough, I understand. When you come in to a program, you're the new coach, and you're assessing what you have, and man, you have to have discipline. Oh, boy, a lot of people are weighing in. Some agree, some disagree. V says Southern doesn't have a post present. We don't play our bigs much. Our starting center is 5'11". But if you look at that roster, and they do play, they may not start, but they have talent as far as height-wise. And there was something else that V said. Also, he said JSU is a bad matchup for Southern, but I expect Southern to win. He was talking about one of the young ladies that Southern had a hard time with, a 6'1" player for Jackson State last time. Oh, okay. That was JH. Southern women has, JH says, Southern women has absolutely no post-play game this year. They are guard-oriented team. Jackson State's Manisha Hammer, 6'1", is the best post player in the SWAT. First team all SWAT, and she will cause problems for Southern. Jackson State has won 8 straight games and 13 of the last 14 games, including a victory over Southern, which we talked about the last time they played. Southern's men basketball team was on their way down talent-wise in Banks last year. Banks was smart when he took the AD's job. And, boy, they're still coming in.
So are they blaming Banks for the basketball demise?
Well, they're just saying they noticed something.
A coincidence.
But when you notice something, you're being negative,
No, you know what? I'm so tired of folks saying that you're being negative. We truly have compassion for your program. You have the vested interest for your program, and you highlight some things that can be done better. It's not being negative. Man, stop putting on these rose-colored glasses or whatever institution you're connected to and don't think anybody can see anything that's not right with the program to make it better. It's not being negative. It's being a realist. My goodness.
I mean, this is passion. You're right sometimes. You have your opinion. Just like JH has now thrown a right hook. Sean Woods didn't come in with 2 LSU transfers and a returning 7-footer like Johnny Jones did. Okay.
Amen, brother.
Well, shots are fired.
Yes, sir.
Coach Baines, Coach Wood, it would be to your advantage to have an improvement next year, play better, and then by the last year of that contract, what can I show to Coach Banks to get me another extension? And that's the bottom line. We know APR helping student athletes graduate on the team. We know that. But all of this kicked off because somebody stated, why not get rid of him after 1 year?
No, I said, you said, I know it. Don't blame it on the sunshine. I understand, and I can take that. But I said, why couldn't you? Why couldn't you? I mean, there's no written law. Hey, you know what? We made a mistake. This is not working. We're going in another direction.
They could do that if, say, they were caught in, Sean Woods was caught in an anger management moment, or if he was.
How about just a pitiful performance moment?
Or if I can continue, or if he was caught on a phone conversation, and something happened. That could happen also. With the talent on the court, you've got to give him a chance. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And then if 2 years from now it's not good, then we know what's going to happen.
Okay, you're right.
We know. We know what's going to happen. But no, I'm not going to sit down and say after 1 year they should even consider that.
Okay,
no.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this.
I say it's not going to happen.
Okay, let me ask you this. I just want to ask this hypothetical question, and to those that are listening. Say it's a coach, say it's a relationship, because what is coaching positions? They're relationships, right? Say you get into this relationship and you think that you want to be committed with this relationship, but early signs are showing you that this is not going to work. Do you continue to turn a deaf ear, a blind eye, and say maybe it's going to work itself out? But each time you stay there, the problems get deeper and rooted, and it ends up being a mess. Do you stay in that, or do you move forward? Count your losses and move forward.
I'm glad we're not talking about a marriage or something.
Well,
you had your first argument, and then because we had our first argument, then we're going to break up. No, sir, Dr. Prince. That guy is not going anywhere after year one, and I personally think he's an excellent X's and O's coach.
Okay.
When he has talent, and I'm not going about what he did at Valley. The record speaks for itself. He had some issues. This is kind of like another chance.
Mm-hmm.
At Southern University.
Mm-hmm. You the one that brought up anger management.
Well, because that has been a problem. Why try to sugarcoat it? That happened, right?
Right.
Am I wrong? Okay, I just want to make sure. But he is going to, and I'm sure when Banks interviewed, that kind of conversation came up. But what is the benchmarks for Southern men's basketball team? To improve, to put yourself in a position to win a championship, and to have a good record every year and an opportunity.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to be able to win a championship every year.
Okay, then. You said to improve. So if I win one game more next year than I did this year, is that not an improvement? Did I not get closer? Did I not get closer to the championship?
It's got to be more than one game.
No. You said win more games than you did the previous year. So if I won 7 games this year, I won 8 games this next year. Sign me my extension, Coach.
Benchmark for next year, my opinion, in the top 5.
No, hold on. Is it going to be 4 or 5, man? Which one is it going to be?
4. The top 4.
Top 4.
That's the benchmark.
So okay. So if Southern is not hosting round 1 of the playoffs next year,
I'll be disappointed.
Hold up. That's not what you just said. Would you be disappointed, or would it be time for Woods to go?
No, I didn't say that.
No, I'm asking because we were talking about the standards of keeping him. The standards of keeping him.
No, it wouldn't be time for him to go. That's my opinion.
You must be on the payroll, man.
No, sir. You know better than that. You know better than that.
Oh, my goodness. You all right.
Well,
you all right.
Interesting. Well, we're past due for a timeout.
That's your fault. That was your fault.
Did we finish talking about the men's championship?
Well, we didn't even get into it because you got on this Southern tangent. It is a Southern-based show, though, because Prairie View and Texas Southern will have the trilogy on today.
And it's the 2 best teams in the conference on the men's side.
Yes, sir. 20-plus
5
wins.
p.m. live on ESPNU. Let's see. I think I was just giving a message that the women's game is also live.
Right. It's 1:30 and 6 o'clock.
Game on live at ESPNU. Boy, you got a lot of misinformation going out. On the local paper here. They got the Southern Jack State game at 5 p.m. under the men's section. That's not right. We know that.
No. From my understanding, it shows 1:30 and 6:30. 1:30 for the women and 6 o'clock for the men.
I'll check it out. If not, there's always local radio.
There you go. Don't forget they can listen at obnradio.com. Coach Van Pettaway and Lee Hall did an outstanding job on yesterday, man. Outstanding job.
Well, that's great. And we look forward to talking with Coach Pettaway in hour number 2. Well, let's do this. Let's take a timeout. Prairie View A&M and Texas Southern live on ESPNU at 5 p.m. 2 best teams on the men's side. I'm going to take a timeout, and let's see if we can talk to my first guest of today's show. He can wrap up the rest of the first hour. Coach Carlos Sample, head men's basketball coach at Scotlandville High School. 3 straight Division I titles in the state of Louisiana, but he's gotten more. And we're going to find out what the future holds for him, Coach Sample. He'll be coming up next. You're listening to the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com.
As a dad, you'll probably spend years teaching your son how to hit a baseball, how to throw a tight spiral and hit a receiver, how to spring off a diving board and hit the water, how to hit a 1-wood and a 9-iron, how to hit the bullseye, how to hit the strike zone, hit a jump shot, hit the open man, hit the hockey net, and maybe the most challenging of all, how to hit the books. But the question is this: how much time will you spend teaching him what not to hit? Teach your son early and often that all violence against women is wrong. For tips on what to say, visit endabuse.org. Brought to you by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, the Waite Institute for Violence Prevention, the Ad Council, and this station.
The birth of legends are storied in this conference. We must never forget our rich history. We now turn our gaze to the future. The new legends will emerge. New heroes to arise. The Southwestern Athletic Conference. Be our history.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. First guest of today's show is Coach Carlos Sample, men's basketball coach at Scotlandville High School. Coach, good morning to you, sir. Congratulations.
Good morning. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on and giving us a few minutes. This time last week, you were getting ready to play for a championship, and you were able to get that championship, a 73-53 victory over number 2 St. Augustine in Division I title game. Coach, just reflect on your third straight division title.
Well, I mean, it never gets old. It's always new. I just have to compliment my coaching staff and my players, for just staying the course and understanding, what's expected out of the system, and and just allowing the system to move forward and giving themselves a chance to play for a state championship. We were fortunate enough to play well and win.
Well, Coach, well, once again, congratulations. All championships are great, but this one you got last Saturday, could we say it's a little bit sweeter because a lot of people didn't think you were able to bounce back after losing a great player, Javante Smart, off of the previous team, but people still question whether you could get back and win another one. Is this title much sweeter?
Yes, it most definitely is. It's up. I think it's above all of them. We, just want to come in, and we knew to talk, but we just wanted to kind of, use that as motivation, and we put our heads down and worked, and, we worked real hard in the off season and conditioning, and, and we got to practice, and, those guys just came on board and just gave me 130% day in and day out, on and off the floor, and finally provided a little leadership to allow them to police themselves, and and it made my job a little easier, but it was still a little tough. But I was just happy that those guys saw the writing on the wall and just ran with it.
Coach, you talk about your system. Is it easier to implement every year because you guys have just won a lot and been very successful? And then how does it work when you add new players to the program? Are you tougher on the newer players that kind of buy into the system?
Right. I'm glad you asked that because, every year brings different challenges, and every year, you have different roles. and everyone really was forced to take on a much bigger role. I only had 2 returning starters, and their roles were even different. So it's a challenge, but like I say, they buy into the system and to the things that we do, and we continue to teach toughness all throughout the process, from even up until this past Monday. Back at work, we still teaching toughness to these young men, and it's an ongoing process, and I'm just happy to be a part of the success. God has blessed us tremendously, to go 10 straight trips. I'd never been not one trip when I was in high school, but to go 10 consecutive, that's an outstanding accomplishment for my staff and for Scotlandville basketball.
Wow, 10? You said 10?
Yes, 10. 6 out of 10. We won 6 and we'll run up in 4.
Well, I'm sure you probably have players that contact you that maybe want to get into the program or come to a school like Scotlandville. Do you get that regular?
Well, it's we're probably the most scrutinized program in the state. So, and everybody's screaming, recruiting this and that. And I kind of sit back a little bit and kind of hopefully we can let our program sell itself to young men who are student athletes, students first, and want to come in academic and pull their weight on that side and just let the athletic part take care of itself. You're going to work, 130% in your academics as well as, athletics. Yeah,
which is very important. Visiting with Coach Carlos Sample, men's basketball coach at Scotlandville High School, reflecting on his 3rd straight Division I title. Talk about, you mentioned your staff, but talk about your staff and what they mean to you.
Well, Jeremy Noah, he's been with me from day one. I coached him my first year at Astruma. He was a freshman, and he's basically saying things before I even say it. I'm thinking it, but it's coming out of his mouth. He's been there, and man, he's a great individual who I've seen just go from being a student to, a man, to an adult. And also Josh Washington, Melissa Washington, Deshaun Washington, all of us, Josh also played for me. Deshaun played for me, and Melissa, her husband and I, grew up together. So, we're like a close-knit family. It's not just a staff. We added on Brandon Ricard from Port Allen High this year, gave us a little, experience also as well. So we're a close-knit family. I really, it's beside me to say staff. I should say family, because that's what we are, and with family, there's unity, and we preach and teach that day in and day out, and that filters down into just the program as a whole, one big family.
Well, you have my permission on this show to use the word family instead of staff.
Thank you
that's a good term. Yeah, we're
right,
family.
Because we spend so much time together away from home, away from our own family. So, you might as well use that term. It's just the trust that you have in someone who know if I'm not there, I won't happen to be there, everything's taken care of. As a coach, as a head coach, just to have that, peace of mind when you're not there, knowing that everything's taken care of, it speaks for itself.
Visiting with Coach Carlos Sample, men's basketball coach at Scotlandville High. 3 straight Division I titles. You're so accustomed to seeing Scotlandville there every year. That's incredible. And now that leads me to this, Coach. What's left for you on the court? I'm sure the fire's still there, and you're still with your staff and the program that you've developed. You still want more championships, but is there anything else that you can accomplish on the court?
Well, every year is something to accomplish. It's different every year. But if the opportunity comes for the next level and it it's a good situation for me and my family, you know. So you almost put yourself in a position to where you have to, you know, you owe it to yourself to step out and see, you know, what else is out there, you know, and if it's a situation to better yourself as well as your family, I think that's an opportunity that you can entertain, you know. But as of now, you know, I'm 110% committed to my job and what I do, you know. So that's I'm in a win-win situation, to be honest with you, you know. So I feel good about it. God has blessed me to be where I am right now, and who knows, tomorrow may be different, you know. So if opportunity permits itself, you know, yes, I am, you know, gonna entertain it.
Yeah, I understand. Well said. I get exactly what you're saying. And speaking of the next level, you guys faced Sophie Wright, and they were able to defeat you. And the reason I bring this up, I want to get your thoughts on DJ Burns, a Southern signee from Sophie Wright. Tell us a little bit about what you thought about him as a player.
He's a hard hat. He's relentless on the board. He's 100%, you know, going after every ball. You know, he's the trash man, you know, and I think he's what makes Sophie go, what made Sophie go. So Southern is they're getting a real steal, you know, they're getting a great player, you know, and I think that can translate on to the college level for what he brings to the table. From Sophie, I think he'll do the same thing at Southern University.
Yeah, and the reason I ask for those who are listening, Coach Sample is an alum, a graduate of Southern University, played basketball. So I would think you would know just a little bit of something about the player going to Southern University. And I know you expect Southern to do well, and you want them to do well.
Right. Always, you know, that's my alma mater, you know. If it wasn't for Southern, I don't think I would be sitting here talking to you right now, you know?
Yeah, I understand. Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. Once again, congratulations, man. With all the talent in the Baton Rouge area and the state, to be able to accomplish what you've accomplished there, 3 straight, and all of the trips there and the titles. I know you hear it a lot, but, you know, just continue the good work and appreciate what you do for student athletes, and continued success, man, in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the show, you know, and like I said, I'm so proud of my players and my whole coaching staff and, you know, Scotlandville Magnet High School, you know, so we're trying to just continue to represent them with dignity, with class, and with wins. So, in championships. So thank you so much for having me on the show, Carlos.
All right. Appreciate it, Coach. Carlos Sample, men's basketball coach at Scotlandville High School. Appreciate him stopping by and talking with us about first-class program, first-class individual. And, boy, he's a guy that's talked about all the time. You know, you're talking about Southern and Southern's basketball, and he was a tremendous player there, point guard, and just basketball is his life, and we wish him much success. We're almost out of it as far as hour number one. It's been just a energetic hour number one. Southern women in Jackson State, ESPN3, ESPNU. Today against Jackson State, some of your comments by the listeners, you're saying that, hey, this was going to be a tough ball game. That's the way I would look at it against Jackson State. Still getting listeners weighing in on the topic that we were talking about. We ended up talking about Coach Woods and Southern University and the job he did. Some of you say he didn't do this year. Some of you, comments are still coming in. about Coach Woods. One listener says Morris Scott has zero discipline. Players literally check themselves into games. I had heard that. A change had to be made. Woods had to remove players from the team because of discipline. SU were literally playing with walk-ons. Woods did an excellent coaching job of what he had to work with. No APR issues. One of them graduated. The others are still in school, although they're no longer on the team. So we'll see with Coach Woods. My position again is, hey, he's got a contract. He's got 2 more years on there. I look for improvement. I read to you some, one listener said, if it's, and maybe that's how I kind of kicked off too, one of the factors is that I disagree with you, Carlos. If he has the same record next year as this year, he needs to go. And that's a loyal listener, and I appreciate his opinion. We've heard Michael Prince with several of his opinions. And you know how that goes. We're entitled to our opinion. And then Michael Prince goes off into Coach Odom's. Now, how did we get on Coach Odom? And by the way, they had a scrimmage yesterday, a 100-play scrimmage. We hope to have more information on Coach Odom's and the football team. High expectations, again, for the football team. Can Southern University kick that door in and get a championship and get to Atlanta? I've talked to people say it's Atlanta or bust. Oh, you got to love being in the Jaguar Nation. But I think they're no different than any other fans. Maybe unrealistic at times, but you can't negate the passion that they have. Coach Richardson told me one time, fans can be a great thing or it could be the worst enemy. Expectations and what have you. How will Southern football do in 2019? You start with off-season conditioning, now in the spring practice phase, more conditioning, get ready for fall camp, then first game against McNeese State University. I'll tell you what, Dr. Prince, looking at some of the team schedule in the first few weeks, there are going to be some unhappy campers if it doesn't go out the way they expect. Some tough ball games to start. And we'll have plenty to talk about, I'm sure, on that. So what I will do now, I'll take the top of the hour break. When I come back, Coach Pettaway, he will talk SWAC basketball for us. I always like having Coach Pettaway on. Don't forget, the Open Mic Broadcast Network will have live SWAC tournament finals action for you. Can Southern win on the women's side? And then that men's ball game. Wow. Texas Southern and Prairie View A&M. Just maybe I'll get a prediction out of Coach Pettaway for both games and Dr. Prince, especially that Prairie View Texas Southern game. Then we'll see how he feels next week when we talk to him. You're listening to this week's episode of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. I'll be right back.
Hello, this is Lonzo Hardy, Vice President of the SWAC Alumni Association. The SWAC Alumni Association is an organization founded in 1999 with the goal of enhancing the great legacy of excellence in the SWAC as well as preserving the athletic heritage of the SWAC. Its membership is open to former athletes as well as current and former coaches, assistant coaches, athletic administrators, referees, employees of conference member institutions, as well as fans of SWAC sports. Individuals interested in gaining membership can contact the organization's president, Roscoe Nance, at 509 Worcester Street in Herndon, Virginia, 20170. Annually, the SWAC Alumni Association holds an a Legends Award in which Lifetime Achievement Awards are presented. Occasionally, a legend of the conference is honored in a roast, and annually 1 or 2 former student athletes are presented degree completion scholarship awards. Contact the organization's president, Roscoe Nance, at 509 Worcester Street in Herndon, Virginia, 20170.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of this week's episode of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Coach Van Pettaway joins me right now. Coach Pettaway, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing all right, Coach. I'm a little concerned for some reason now in the women's final championship.
Well, you
Southern
should be.
And Jackson State. Tell me something to make me feel better.
Well, I think you have a legitimate concern because Jackson State, believe it or not, they're playing tremendous basketball. Mm-hmm. And they're probably playing better than anybody that I've seen coming down the stretch. So Southern can't take them for granted. I mean, it was a great game yesterday, 2 overtimes, but to see Jackson not quiver, not fold under pressure, that was amazing to see. They showed a lot of heart. They showed a lot of character because they could have hung their heads because there were some situations in that game where you thought it was over, but those young ladies said, no, it's not over. And they played. So I think it's Coach Funches and the Southern Lady Jags, they're going to have their hands full today.
Yeah, I was kind of afraid you was going to say that, but I kind of expected that. And I've been having, kind of dialogue with some Jackson State people, alums, and their concern is that Jackson State's legs, the legs of the team. And then they simply asked, do you think their championship was yesterday against Prairie View A&M? How would you respond to that, Coach?
Well, that is a concern. I said that last night on the broadcast for both games because you're looking at playing in less than 24 hours and then, of course, with Jackson State going to double overtime, that took a lot out of those ladies, and that's why I felt like the trainers for those teams that played like that, they're going to be the most important people this weekend because they got to rehydrate those ladies. And it should have started immediately after the ball game, them getting electrolytes and water into those young ladies and then getting them shut down for the rest of the night so that they could have legs for the day. It's going to be tough, but we talking about some young ladies who don't have a lot of miles on their legs. So I think the adrenaline will keep them going and have them ready to play.
We're speaking with Coach Van Pettaway, former men's basketball coach at Alabama A&M, a truly iconic figure in college basketball, in my humble opinion. With that being, thank you. With that being said, these teams know each other. The last time Southern dropped a home game to Jackson State at the L.G. Clark Activity Center. At this point, you talked about getting hydrated and getting some rest. They know each other. Is there like extra strategic planning going on, or what I just said? They know each other. It's simple. Come out with a simple game plan and go at it. Am I off base, or what exactly happens in this situation?
Well, I think what happened last night, the coaches got together and they looked at all the games that they played against each other. They looked at what worked and what didn't work, and they had to quickly come together with a game plan. Didn't have a lot of time probably today at a shoot around to just go through it. I don't know if some of them actually went through it. If it were me, I probably would not have. I would do everything in the film room, showing them what we need to do, because I would want to keep them off their feet as much as possible. So I think at this point, yes, they know each other, and that gives you a slight advantage because now you know what did not work against your opponent. So we scrap that, and we try to deal with the things we know that will work. And then the other thing that you got to do is got to be on a field by field right now. Who is rolling for us right now? Who has played well Tuesday and then yesterday? Because sometimes you can get a player that can be on a run, and you just got to ride that wave. Because that has helped me several times in winning tournaments. We had players that ended the regular season on a roll, and then we continued that wave on into the tournament, and they led us to the tournament championship. So it's a lot of times coaching is also the feel for your players. So you as a staff, you got to see what's working for you and then try to ride it out.
Very interesting visiting with Coach Van Pettaway here on the Carlos Brown Show. Both women's semifinal games, very exciting. Southern with a 2-point victory over Grambling State, 71-69. Coach, you didn't fall for the okie doke when Southern was up by 10 points at the half against Grambling State. Didn't you know Grambling was going to make a run, and they did in the third quarter?
Right, I said that. I told them the game wasn't over. You could just feel it. Grambling was off just a little bit, but they came back. They increased the defensive pressure. Mm-hmm. They stopped making some of those mistakes, and they came back to make that into a very, very interesting game.
Coach, my opinion, and then we're gonna move on to the men's championship, which is going to be very interesting as well. When I look at this Southern team, just from my perspective, but I want to get yours. They look the part, but they're also young. And to me, their best days are ahead of them. And Coach Funches in his first year, along with Jackson State's coach. Does Southern look the part to you as far as the physicalness and the guard play, and they play a lot of players, their depth?
But Carlos, any team that's in the championship game, mm-hmm. they look the part. They've proven that they deserve to be there. Mm-hmm. So any team that has survived the regular season and then in a tournament play, you in a championship game, you deserve to be there. You don't luck up and get to the championship game now.
Understand?
Right. So they got the pieces. I don't think they need to worry about youth. You got youth on both sides. You got Jackson State. I think the biggest thing you got two coaches who in their first year as head coaches are in the championship game. Neither one of them as a head coach has an advantage because as a head coach, they have not been there before. But if you look at it this way, look mm-hmm. how many times Carlos has sat on that sideline with Coach Pugh. Mm-hmm. Okay? In pressure situations like that. Now, they both showed on yesterday that they can handle pressure situations because both of those games, that's what March Madness is all about. And those coaches handled it well. So I think a team that can minimize their mistakes, that can get into an offensive rhythm early, will be the team that will win that championship game.
So let me put you on. Can I put you on the spot, Coach?
It's too close to call.
Oh, I was going to ask for a prediction.
Yeah, it's too close to call.
Oh, he got a quick jab there. See, I couldn't do it. So a toss-up in game 1, the women's championship. Now to the men's side. All the preliminaries are gone. These are the 2 best teams in the conference on the men's side. It's proven that during the year. Now they meet again for the third time.
Third time.
Preview that one for us. Prairie View A&M and Texas Southern University. It should be a good one.
It should. I think this is probably going to be one of the most anticipated finals in quite some time in the SWAC. You got 2 teams that have proven all year that they are the best in the SWAC. And then you got 2 teams that split the regular season. If anybody has an advantage, to me, it will be Prairie View, and for this reason only. They have shown that they can make the big run against Texas Southern. When they were in Houston and they went up big, but eventually lost the game. So in the back of their minds, Texas Southern's going to remember that. Hey, these guys can get out on us if we're not on top of our game. But watching them play yesterday, Texas Southern, to me, had the most impressive game, and they had the most impressive player. Combs showed why he was the player of the year in the SWAC. That guy was just, I think, 1 or 2 rebounds away from 20 rebounds and 20-something points. He dominated that game. Alabama State didn't have a chance in that game after one of their starters got 2 fouls in less than a minute. They just didn't have the firepower. Texas Southern, now, here's the key. Did Trayvon do what he had to do last night? Or did he go back and do something crazy where he won't be on the floor today? If Trayvon Reed is on that floor, that's going to be a very, very interesting game, because with Reed and Combs on the floor at the same time, Prairie View can't match that. They cannot match that. But what Prairie View has in their favor, their guard play. If Blackson's game is on and Patterson is playing, they can play with anybody. Patterson wears his emotions on the sleeve. If he is not settled, he's going to hurt his team. He's going to hurt his team. If emotionally he's not dialed in to the team effort, he's going to hurt his ball club, because he allows his emotions to get the best of him on the floor at times. And I saw that a couple of times yesterday. So this is going to be a very exciting game. This is what March Madness is all about. You couldn't ask for a better matchup.
Well, I don't think I should ask who you picking to win this one. Another toss-up, right?
You better know it. You better know it. You better know it.
Fred? Excuse me. Prairie View gets to the finals with an 81 in the semifinals, 81-71 victory over 4th seed Grambling State, and Texas Southern, number 2 seed, an 80-66 victory over Alabama State. Live on ESPNU, according to official SWAC release, Prairie View A&M and Texas Southern. It has come down to this, and I must admit, most people are in favor of a tournament champion. You know, we've talked about it a lot. You know, the regular season, 1-bid league, and we kind of know everyone's position on that. Because if it was the case where you didn't have a tournament, coach, it would be Prairie View and Southern University, be it regular season champs. So that's not the case. Southern has an invite to WNIT and Prairie View with the NIT, but Prairie View, I guess my question is, They've been so consistent. A loss is going to affect both teams. But Prairie View A&M, if they lose this ball game, the consolation prize will be, to me, playing an NIT, where I'm sure everyone wants to be in the NCAA tournament.
Right, but I just think playing postseason, period, is good for your program and good for your kids. It's definitely a recruiting tool. So even if they lost in the championship, I don't look at it as being second class. Yeah, you want to be there. There are 3 tournaments out there for postseason play: the Big Dance, NC2A, the NIT, and the College Insider Tournament. So you got three opportunities to continue playing after your conference finals, and I just think that's great for basketball. It's great for your teams, and it's been proven that the teams that go deep or go to the championship in the NIT, that means that turns into a successful season the next year for the NC2A. So the postseason play, as long as you can keep your kids together, playing and competing, I think it helps your program. And in fact, when I get off this call with you all, I'll be calling my buddies in the CIT. I'm gonna be lobbying for Texas Southern in the event they lose the championship. I'm gonna be lobbying for them to get a bid to the CIT because I don't know if the NIT would pick them up. You know, they got 21 wins on the season, so you know it's a toss up. So I'm gonna be trying to make sure that that bid is there just in case. Yeah. And you have to do it in advance. So that's one of the things I'm going to do. I'm still on that selection committee for the CIT. The postseason, I think it was a great thing when the NC2A came up with the conference champions that lose in the tournament would get an automatic to the NIT, because kids need something other than their conference tournament. So I'm one of the people that thought it was good. Yeah, I wish we would be more than a one bid conference. But then you got to look at all the other mid-major teams. You look at a team like right now, you got Belmont, who got 25, 26 wins. They're in the same boat. Yeah. Right. They're in the same boat. They went out and beat UCLA, and they still may not even get a bid. So it's not an indictment against the SWAC. It's an indictment against smaller conferences. So it's not just the SWAC. It's all mid-major conferences are dealing with the exact same thing, not being able to get more than one team in, no more than your automatic qualifier.
And Coach, you tell me, would it help to see more games, say like between, conferences of similar size, like a Belmont in a
I've always said that. I've always said that we need to be competing against more mid-major conferences versus the Power 5 conferences. Yeah, because you're right. You get a true test as to how good a team is, because you playing against similar talent, similar budgets. Mm-hmm. Even though most of the mid-major budgets are bigger than the HBCU conferences, but at least it's closer in line than the Power 5, because when you look at it, a Power 5 and some of the Power 5 conferences, they spend more on their recruiting budget than some of our schools spend on your basketball budget. Yeah. So see, when you're going up against inequity in conferences with that great amount, it's going to show. Yeah, every now and then we're going to come up and win some games. You look at what Texas Southern did. You look at what Prairie View did, where they come up and beat some of the teams in the Power 5. But those are few and far between.
Yeah, I'm going to go back a little bit in the day. I hope I'm getting this right. You remember some of the teams Austin P had, with, I want to say Fly Williams?
Right.
to me, now I'm just speaking for myself and going back to it again, those are the type of games I would pay to see. You know, if Austin Peay came to the F.G. Clark Activity Center, or, you know, a Texas Southern plays a Middle Tennessee State.
Right, you got to have a draw. Okay, you had Fly Williams on that team, so you wanted to see a great athlete like that, great basketball player. So yeah, you would pay. Those matchups to me would be better than going up against UCLA, going up against Virginia. You know, that with their style of play, I would never schedule Virginia.
And by the way, they lost to Florida.
Right? Yeah, ain't no way. Yeah, but look what Florida State got. Look at that back line that they have with all them 7-footers. They beat them down and they were able to win that game. But when will we have that? When will the HBCU have a back line like Florida State? So see, you wouldn't. So you go up against them and they grind you to death. They don't let you score 20 points in a half.
Yeah,
that's not good basketball for those kids.
Right. It reminds me of a few years back playing Wisconsin. Same way. Good.
Right.
It's like paint dry.
Right. Correct. Cause see, you look at matchups and then you say, no way I'm going to play them. Yep. And then you flip it to the other side. Back in the day when Tubbs was at Oklahoma, there was no way I was going to play Oklahoma. Because he didn't know what holding up meant.
Yeah. And to your point, I've had Southern fans, 8, 9, 10 years ago. Hey, I'd like the Ben Jobs style. Right. Even if they lost, it was exciting.
Correct.
And that's kind of what they like. What Coach Job said. 94 foot, got to get up 100 shots. I'm going to win.
Yep. Well, see that's exciting. The exciting brand of basketball that the SWAC was known for, and then now with these spread offenses and the dribble drive, man, that it's like watching paint dry when you watch some of those teams play, man.
Yeah. I remember your teams that come in the F.D. Clark activity. I call it 40 minutes of hell. Too. I mean,
yeah. Well, I don't believe in holding the ball. This is what I told my kids: if we hold the ball too long, something bad gonna happen. So let's go ahead and get up and down the floor. And let's shoot this thing. See, we had quick hitters. See, we were geared more toward the NBA style of where we had quick hitting plays. Now, have you noticed that this is what you all have missed now? When a team that runs dribble drive gets behind, it's hard for them to catch up. You know why? They don't have quick hitting plays. They still got to dribble and drive before they even attempt a shot. What happened to the day when you can get a shot after either one or no more than 2 passes? You don't have very many teams that are playing like that now. So when they get behind, they cannot cut a gap. They cannot close a gap.
Because I can say, boy, you got my mind going back now.
Yep.
I remember Frankie J. Sanders and Purvis Short. Oh, my. Machine gun. Avery Johnson. Man, my goodness. You're right. That ball was up the court.
Right. Two passes at the most, a shot is taken. When you're really rolling, you got one pass and the shot is in there. Now, you can come back against anybody like that. But if I got a dribble drive it's too much dribbling. It's too many passes. And my shooter, how you going to get your shooter open in dribble drive?
Yeah, because what you're talking about earlier, these guys back in the day would spot up, pass it.
Right.
They're ready. And when they get the ball, they're already in the mode, taking the shot.
Right. What's your guy from Southern that was tragically killed in the auto accident? Played for Charlotte.
Bobby Fields.
Bobby. Now, Bobby was a catch and shoot player. So how would that work with dribble drive?
Not good.
Right. He's got to come off of screens. He needs some screens. He needs some free play in order to get open. And once he catches it, he shoots it.
And speaking of this, Coach, I want your input on this. From the outside looking in, sometimes that's the best way. Sometimes you can be inside too close to the situation. We had a lively discussion in our number one. Give me your quick analysis of Southern's basketball program. I say Coach Woods needs time. Some people, they're a little antsy about the situation.
He's got to have time. This is his first. He hasn't done a full year there. Wasn't he hired in April or May?
Yeah.
He hasn't been there for a year, so you got to give him time. You can't. Number one, to me, you can't evaluate a coach off of the first year when number one, those aren't his players. He's playing a different style of basketball than what the players that are recruited there for. So you got to give him time. I think you got to be patient. I didn't think
that word. I've been accused of being an impatient man, but I said patience.
Well, now I'm gonna tell you something. Now, by nature, I'm not a patient person. That's the way I coach. Yeah, I don't pull punches. I don't lie to people because my face tells everything. If I don't like you or if something's not right, you'll be able to tell it in my expression. But and I'm sorry, that's the way mom and dad that's their DNA. So I've always been a very truthful person. I think that some of these programs have to sit back and reevaluate themselves, because now you expected a coach to just walk in there and win and be on top the first year. That's not going to happen unless you had talent there.
Oh, come on, ready to shout.
If Wolves walked in there and the cupboards were full, yeah, I'd be one of the people. Now, come on now, Wood. Come on. Mm-hmm. But now, the cupboards were not full. So they got to wait. They got to be patient. Now, how long do you wait? That depends on how much money you put in that program. Because if you put the money in the program to get it done, then he doesn't have an excuse. But if the money's not there, you got to be patient. And I think that's what our HBCUs have gotten away from. They're taking on this mentality of the power. They're trying to play Power 5 basketball, but they got Division III budgets.
It's not gonna work.
Right, it's not gonna work. And they got the Power 5 mentality, but you don't have the support of Power 5. And when I say support, that's touching on all bases. That's from the administration, that's from the fan base, and it's definitely the biggest thing is financial for the program, not the coaches. Now I'm talking about giving the kids, the programs, what they need.
And Coach, can it be done eventually if there's a commitment to it?
Yes, it can. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. But when you bring a kid on campus, they need facilities. They need to be able to graduate. And when I say graduate, see, we put a Band-Aid on stuff. Like the NC2A has come up with the APR, which means that every school needs an academic center. You know, on paper, all of us got academic centers. But are they functioning to the point where you can get good athletes and keep them in school and keep them eligible year by year? Some of these schools that I have seen and visited, yeah, they all got academic centers. But how much money are they actually putting into it? The committee that I'm on with the NC2A, I have proposed twice that they come up with a minimum amount of money that the schools spend on academic enhancement. And that's supposed to be there to help the athletes matriculate through college. So I'm telling them, unless they come up with the minimum amount that the schools need to spend, we're going to always have this Band-Aid effect. Well, yeah, they got one in name, but it's not functioning and it's not viable for the student athletes. And then if the schools that can't afford that minimum, get out of Division I. They shouldn't be in Division I. And I hate to say it now, some of us, our HBCU, we shouldn't be in Division I because we don't have the commitment.
Well, Coach, that's been said before. There's been studies done. And one person I'm thinking about in particular mentioned that to me a few years ago. But, you know, if you say that, and I'll quote one guest that came on the show, said if you suggest moving out of Division I in basketball, even Division II in football, you don't want to live long.
Man. Yeah, well, that's the wrong mentality.
Right.
That's the wrong mentality. They should be thinking about the kids. Look what we put these kids through. And then we're supposed to be preparing them for life, and the things that we take them through these athletic departments, we're not supporting them the way we need to academically, and it's a sham, and it needs to stop.
Well, hopefully it will get better.
Right, and that's one of the things. That's why I always respected Coach Joe, because he would say what's on his mind. Because that's just like the guarantee game. Did you know what he called them? He said we were prostituting our athletes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He said we were prostituting. He said that. That's quote unquote that he said that we're prostituting these athletes. Yep, and that's all we're doing. We're making money. We're doing just like some of the Power 5 schools. They make millions of dollars now off of these black athletes. We got the black athletes. We making a few hundred, and we're doing the exact same thing, because now we want to go from the 100 to the thousands. Every HBC program right now in basketball, they want you to bring in $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 a year. Mm-hmm. By doing what? Taking them kids up there, getting their brains beat out.
Yeah.
Is that fair? They very rarely do it in football. Some of the schools now are picking one game a year. They play one. How many do you play in basketball? 10 to 15. Mm-hmm. That's half of your season.
Yep. And then when conference play, well, you know, they're not going to get fired. I'm being facetious here. They're not going to get fired for playing those type of games.
Yeah, right.
They're going to be fired for not doing well in the conference. But, Coach,
they don't separate. Hey, they don't separate the
team that comes in 2-12.
Thank you.
And then the conference play. Yeah. Dr. Prince has a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Coach, first of all, awesome job that you're doing. But here's a question that I had in relation to what you're talking about. These tournaments are supposed to be a quality experience for the student athlete, these conference tournaments. And
correct.
They're supposed to be generating money. Do you think we've come to a crossroad according to attendance where we may have to possibly think about 86ing the basketball tournament?
Well, I don't know about ending them, but yeah, we're at a crossroad now because attendance is down. But attendance is down all across the country. Well, the only tournament that's making money, HBCU, is CIAA. Now, they're still selling out, but they get the sponsors up front. So they're making the money. But no, we're at a point where the attendance, I don't care what city we go to, is lacking. And how do you address that? I think it starts on each campus. It starts on each campus by motivating your fan base. Now, one of the things that I did like that I saw yesterday, there were teams there were fans that were at the tournament, and their teams weren't there. And the reason why you know they were there because they had on their school paraphernalia. Mm-hmm. So you had schools that were represented that did not have a team in the fight. that's a good sign. But until we put the tournament's got to be somewhere where the fans want to come. And then when we get there, we got to do other things to satisfy them. Now, you look back over the history. You went to the places where they had casinos. We thought that was going to bring them there. That didn't necessarily bring the people. It brought 50, maybe 100 more people that wanted to go and gamble. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it just starts at tournament time. I think it starts during the regular season on your home campus. What has the attendance been at your home campus during the regular season? If you didn't draw during the regular season, what makes you think you're going to draw when you get in the tournament? Mm-hmm. That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah.
If you were not drawing during the regular season, just because you in the tournament, what makes you think that your people wouldn't come out their door and they live across the street from the arena? What makes you think they're going to travel to Birmingham or to Houston or to wherever the tournament is? That's why I think it starts at home.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm thinking again, we were talking earlier about when Avery Johnson and played in the exciting brand of ball that they played. Man, the old Seymour Gym on campus will be packed. The FG Clark, man, if you didn't get there in a reasonable time,
right,
you were shut out. And I guess Jackson State could say the same thing with Purvis Shore.
And I promise you, A&M could say the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
When we had teams that could play, if you didn't get to put it like this, if you weren't at our place at halftime of the girls' game, you weren't getting in.
Mm-hmm.
You were not getting in. So the attendance was there. If we went to a tournament, our people followed us to the tournament. So that's why I still say it starts at home.
Well,
it starts at home, but you can't bring a team, your first home game, your team already 0-something, 0-15, 0-13. What interest is that going? What? You're not generating interest when you do that.
And that's where it comes back to scheduling smart.
Right. All that has to be taken into consideration.
So we're talking about really multiple factors that can be done.
Correct.
To change the perceive or the problem.
Right.
You can't point to one thing and that will solve it. But I don't know. It's interesting, these tournaments, and the counter argument is always, well, it's the student athletes, the experience that they have. But for what you're saying, if I'm getting you right here, it starts before the conference season starts.
Correct.
And again, what incentive there is to come? You know, you have your loyal fans that's going to come, but you always got to try to, have that base. But how do you grow that base? How do you grow to get people to come that perhaps hadn't come in the past? Or don't you want some of the people to come to the game that perhaps are not even alums, but you're expanding? Just to say that they moved to Baton Rouge and you're trying to get them to come to a Southern basketball game or football game.
Right. Our teams, our people, our fans, they have a different mentality. You take the first four, Dayton. You go to Dayton. We experienced Dayton. Dayton filled up that 3/4 of that arena was already filled with fans from that area. Then they made accommodations for our fans and the other teams that participated. But the city of Dayton, the fans, the basketball purists, they support that tournament. Their team is never in the tournament. They just host it. Their own team is never in the tournament. And let me tell you one of the things that I like that the NC2A does. The team that comes the furthest away and does not have that big fan base, do you know that they go out and get T-shirts for that particular school? They give them fans in the stands.
Didn't know that.
Just like they do. Okay, if your band is not there, your own school band, you're gonna have a band in your school colors because they'll provide one. That's the kind of thing that they do at the play-in games. It's the mentality of that community. So see, we have to work on our own communities to get them back to our campuses first and to support our teams. And it's not just happening in basketball, it's the same thing in football. You go to some of these football stadiums, you had larger crowds in basketball.
Yeah.
Yep, unless you're playing the rival. Yeah, nothing's going match Alabama State and Alabama A&M for the Magic City Classic. All right, but we had our own version in basketball where we used to sell out the arenas before the women's game was at halftime. Now, they don't do it. They don't even have sellouts in either place, Montgomery or Huntsville. So that's the regular season. Yeah. So that's why it's not that's why it doesn't surprise me when you go to the tournament, you don't have the big crowds anymore. Because you don't have them during regular season.
Yeah, well, hopefully this thing, I mean, maybe they should talk to people like you, have consultants, bring back people who in the day knew how it was to have great crowds and tradition. And I know things change, time changes, but I think you got to really try to solve this.
You got to go back to what the SWAC used to do in the beginning, when Coach Joseph said they were worried about RPI. Well, RPI is gone now, so that's why I don't even think this will work. Mm-hmm. They had a moratorium where you could not play more than two of those games. So now you had to play people that were more, whose program were more like yours. Well, that day is gone. That day is gone because they don't use the RPI anymore.
And Coach, a person that you know, I interviewed years ago, basically said the same thing. Miss Austin.
Right.
She became AD, and I mean, I had a co-host that he wanted to debate her about it, and, she said, no, we're not playing 10 of those kind of games. No.
Well, I was never forced to play that many games. The best I did, I played 9 in 1 year, and let me tell you why we did that. We had a president. We wanted to do some remodeling in Elmore, and he agreed to allow me to do the remodeling with the game guarantees. So when he said that, I played 9 games, and every dime that we earned went towards that project. Mm-hmm. But that president was gone the next year.
Oh, wow. On his own? Or
no, he was not. He was shown the door. Okay. So now,
Coach, did you say after 1 year? Did you say after 1 year?
Well, the next year after he allowed me to do that, he'd been there. I think that was his 3rd year. They let him go.
Oh, 3rd.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sound like somebody was saying it does happen. Somebody get rid of somebody after 1 year.
Yeah.
I see you, Dr. Brett.
Yeah. but that's now when you can help your program, then you play them games like Texas Southern. Texas Southern is the bell cow for our conference. They're the first program that actually allowed you to keep guarantee money. That's why Mike never played at home, because the money went back to his program.
That's he had to give
rule. You had to give the administration their cut, but the bulk of the money came back to the basketball program. Why do you think he was so successful? He had the money to do what he needed to do in terms of recruiting, facilities, everything. Right, and salaries, yes. He got qualified people on his staff. In fact, I don't think I'm wrong at this. His assistants may have been paid more at Texas Southern than they were when they were at UAB. Yep. So the money does help programs if it's used the right way. See, it didn't go into Mike Davis' pocket now. It went into his program.
And not the general fund.
Right. So see, if the other ADs and presidents in the conference would take that same approach, if they're gonna make the teams pay the money, don't keep it all. Put some back into the program. Invest in the cash cow that you got.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I'm talking about facilities, scholarships, academic enhancement, recruiting budget. You can't just recruit over the phone now. Kids don't do that. Yeah, every now and then you're gonna look up and get one. But to be consistent, you got to be out there. How do you get out there? You got to travel. How do you travel? You got to purchase the tickets. How do you purchase the ticket? Give me the money. Where's the money coming from? The game guarantees that we done got our heads bashed in for.
Yes.
So it's a method to the madness. You can have a good program. The money has to come from somewhere. You don't have it in your budget. Let us bring it in. We can still help your budget, but help our budget too. Yep.
Let the church say amen. Well, on that note, we'll leave on a good note.
Okay. Well, did you know this now?
As we always.
Hey, because I'm so opinionated, even if I wanted to get back in coaching, some of them schools be like, nah, we don't need him here. he can't come and upset what we doing because we want all his money.
And see, the thing is, it's like, I often have this conversation with my best friend. If I'm a head coach, and of course I'm not, but when I have someone on my staff, I want something that'll say, well, Coach Brown, look, I think what we're doing is not working. I don't want a yes man.
Right.
I want
that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me. If my assistants couldn't give me some input, they didn't need to be on my staff.
Yeah. I feel you. Yeah. You can't. You got to have good ones that's going to tell you this is not working. Of course, we need to try this.
Mm-hmm.
I got a better way. I want the best and brightest mind that the administration can give me to get on my staff.
Yep. And so what I'm doing, since I'm not in coaching, I'm speaking on behalf of my fellow coach. I'm saying what they can't say.
Oh, come on.
I'm saying what they cannot say because they need their jobs. Because if they take the stance that I'm taking, they'll get moved. So I'm speaking. I'm still trying to help the SWAC. I'm still trying to help basketball in general. So that's why I'm speaking up. Look at it. The facts and figures are there. These programs are suffering because they don't have what it takes. They don't have what it takes because you're playing the guarantee games. All the money is going to the general fund. Is that fair to the athletes?
Nope.
Okay, so I just put it out there.
All right, Coach Pettaway, we're going to talk with you next Saturday.
Okay, man.
And I appreciate it. You're being candid. You're speaking what's on your mind, and that's what I love about it.
All right, well, that's me.
All righty, yes, sir. And we got to do a reunion show with the M9 section. I'm still working.
Yeah, I like some of them, and I will try to get my staff member that was so disturbed to see if I can get him. That might be therapy for him.
Yeah, indeed, because I've seen them. M9 section, and the ringleader, he's in Atlanta. I know
that right?
Happily married, and yeah, I can reach out to him. I mean, it was it was worth the price of admission as well.
Right.
Well, you have a great weekend, a great everything, and we'll talk with you next Saturday.
Okay, guys, hang in there.
All righty.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. That was Coach Van Pettaway in an extended version of his SWAC basketball report as well. And a lot of things he was saying, yeah, they hit home. They were pointed. So hopefully, Brother Prince, that the conference can get better.
That's our goal. That's our desire.
Yeah.
Is that it gets better.
And the tournaments, we wish them much success. Again today, you've got 2 ball games. I will watch, hopefully 2, if not 1, and 1 on the radio. How you doing? And don't forget Open Mic Broadcast Network, right? They can listen in as well.
Yes, sir. OBNradio.com. It will be the game day page player that you can click on and listen. Coach Pettaway will be there for the men's championship game. Lee Hall will be play-by-play for both women and men's championship, and Joshua Davis will be the color analyst on the women's championship game. But it's been some outstanding games, competitive games, and like I said, it's unfortunate that the attendance is where it is. But he hit home when he said, if you're not drawing during your regular season, what makes you think that the magic carpet is going to appear during your postseason tournament play? And that's something that we really need to look at campus per campus.
Yeah, because if I can look at, to be truthful, Southern University basketball, your best drawing is when Southern plays Grambling State. Mm-hmm. And that's usually on a Saturday.
Right.
The Monday night games are different. Just a feel, and Jackson State falls on the Monday. Just think if they were on a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Much better.
Well, to be honest with you.
But to be honest with you, though, overall, not good numbers, attendance-wise.
It doesn't matter.
And I think everybody in the conference can say that.
Right. That's why we got to take our heads out the sand and stop wink acting like everything is okay. But it boils down, and I've been guilty of saying it. Did a show this past week. It's poor planning on administrative side, and people have gotten complacent with sending out tweets, Instagram posts, and Facebook posts. You got to get back to the feet on the ground, knocking on door, almost like running a campaign, and let the people know. I don't know. We wait on people to come and interview us and do that for the local newspapers and media. They're not knocking our doors down. So guess what? By the time in the newspaper, you got the money in their budgets. Some of these papers are small enough. You could buy a page and just say everything that's being done athletically, academically at that local university, and make the attention be drawn to you. But we have taken this complacency and this lazy approach to marketing our programs. And as a result, they don't come.
And I'm guilty of that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
mm-hmm. But it's all good. I still love them.
Yeah. Speaking of basketball, on the MEAC, on the men's side, number 1, Norfolk State versus North Carolina Central at 1 p.m., I guess that's Eastern Standard Time. And on the women's side, Norfolk State, number 4 seed, and number 3, Bethune-Cookman. Also, I wanted to, because I know we're running out of time, and as always, continue the discussion after the show. I wanted to read, I know where to find it at, a little bit on JSU's women's coach. Tamika Reed is a protege of Anna Jackson, the most successful women's high school coach in Mississippi, Murrah High School. Appreciate that, CB. In her first year, 2 first-year head coaches competing along with their staff and players for the title of SWAC Women's Tournament Championship. Dr. Prince, you wanted a prediction, or have you given it already?
Well, my prediction is I said Southern would win, and I'm putting my heart to the side. Prairie View will ink out a thriller, being that the perimeter game is on tonight.
Southern will win because I want them to win, but that's not the only reason. And I think they're going to play as well as they can. And remember the last game at FG Clark Activity Center. On the men's side, you can't have a tie in basketball. Both evenly matched teams. I'm going to go with Prairie View. I almost sounded like disgusted when I said that. Prairie View. I mean, it's an evenly matched game. But I think Prairie View chemistry, they've just been playing well the whole time. And even when the team is close, Prairie View pulls away. They're the best team in the conference, in my humble opinion. We'll see if we're right next Saturday. For Dr. Michael Prince, all of the guests, everyone who listened and participated, appreciate you much. Tune in next Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, heard exclusively right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network and Spreaker.com. Peace and God bless.